We have now triggered Article 50. There is no going back. Unless all member states agree otherwise, the UK will be out of the European Union within 2 years. There's been lots in the media about UK negotiating the best deal with the EU. Here I'll go through a range of things we need to negotiate and how I think this will all go. In this video I'll go through trade deals, immigration, financial passporting, euro clearing, pensions, real estate, European Investment Bank, Europol, the European Medicines Agency and some other governance. So let's start with a trade deal. A lot's been said about having access to the single market. This is all a bit misleading as pretty much every country in the world has access to the single market. As I said in a previous video, the biggest selling phone in the UK last year was the iPhone. Designed in America and built in China, none of these countries are members of the single market. None of these countries even have free trade arrangements with the EU, and yet they're able to sell their products here. A free trade arrangement would be nice, but even if we didn't get that, it wouldn't be the end of the world. If we didn't get a trade deal, we would default to World Trade Organization tariffs, which currently covers around half of our trade. The average WTO tariff across the EU is around 3.5%. This is less than the amount the pound has devalued against the euro since Brexit. So even if no trade deal is agreed, and I think we will agree one, but even if there is no deal, on average our exporters will be more competitive than they were pre-Brexit. Next, immigration and the status for EU citizens living in the UK and UK citizens living abroad. Now I think the most likely outcome by a long way will be to allow everyone to stay where they are. Which government benefits from failing to agree this? In the event of this not being agreed, a load of angry expats will come home and forever vote against the politicians that were too petty to agree this. No one gains from not playing ball on this. In terms of immigration and travel visas going forward, I suspect things will work pretty much like every other country in the world. For example, you don't need a visa to go to Japan, South Korea, Philippines or Singapore. In most instances, you only need paperwork if you plan to stay for more than 90 days or if you intend to work there. We already have a visa system for non-EU citizens. This could simply be expanded. Back in June I thought we might keep freedom of movement. However, I think the mood music has changed and that more and more people are now recognising that some control over movement is not a bad thing. Health insurance terms will need to be agreed. Again, I'm not particularly worried about this. We either agree something reciprocal where if someone in the UK gets ill while elsewhere in the EU, they can receive healthcare and vice versa, like the current European health insurance card, or we agree nothing, and when we go on holiday to the EU, we have to take out travel insurance like we do when we visit every other part of the world. Next, financial passporting. This has been in the news quite a bit, but in case you're not aware, if a financial firm gains authorization to operate in any member of the European Economic Area, it can then operate across all the countries in the group. This is kind of convenient, and you can understand why a number of financial institutions are lobbying for this to remain. I think there's a reasonable chance this will remain in place. After all, while around 5,500 UK firms use financial passporting in the EU, around 8,000 EU firms use it to provide services in the UK. However, it's not the end of the world if we can't agree to continue passporting rights. All that would need to be done is for a subsidiary office to be opened in the EEA. Many financial institutions already have subsidiaries based elsewhere in the EU. Moody's, the leading credit rating agency, view passporting risk as manageable. Euro clearing. Now this is actually an area where I think we might lose something. At the moment, the clearing of euro-denominated derivatives happens in London. Now governments all around the world are quite comfortable with the idea of having currency-denominated instruments traded and cleared outside of their borders. Clearly not everyone thinks that the UK will lose euro clearing. But the reason I think we will, at some point, is because the EU has had its heart set on taking this away from us for years now, and I think it would only be a matter of time regardless of whether we left the EU. About 2 years ago, Osborne successfully won a court case keeping euro clearing here. The European Central Bank had wanted it to be moved to the Eurozone. The court ruled that the ECB lacks the competence necessary to regulate the activity of security clearing systems. So not that the ECB should not require clearing to move, but that it currently lacks the competencies to regulate. So in my opinion, it was always going to be a matter of time before euro clearing moves. Now the headlines and the potential impact of this are absurd. One report claiming it could cost more than 200,000 jobs. Twaddle. I can understand why people are saying this. They want the UK government to push hard to keep it, and they might, there is a chance, but these job numbers are way out of whack. 200,000 is about a fifth of the total number of people employed in financial services in the UK. Euro clearing is a relatively small part. The total number of jobs in clearing houses is closer to 1,000, and the euro is just one currency of many, and traders can trade from most locations. The city is not going to move wholesale abroad. The only two places with any significant financial infrastructure are Paris, and French legislation is far from business friendly, and Frankfurt. The total population of Frankfurt is around 700,000. It's not going to happen. Furthermore, Italy may well leave the euro soon, and possibly France and Greece as well. This could lead other countries to follow suit, and the whole value of euro trading could significantly decrease. Overall, I'm not too concerned about it, but do expect every time a business makes some redundancies for it to be blamed on Brexit. Next, bureaucrat pensions. Unsurprisingly, the EU has a major pensions liability. Its total liability is around £50 billion. There are different ways the liability could be shared out, but I think it'll be somewhere in the range of 5 to 10 billion. So that kind of sucks, but given that our net annual contributions to the EU is 10 billion a year, at worst we won't get some cash back for a year. I think it's fair enough for us to make a contribution towards the pensions of the bureaucrats that were incurred while we're members, but if the EU goes too far and demands too much, we can just walk away. There's nothing in the treaties that require any payment at all to be made. Similarly, we also own a proportion of the EU's buildings in Brussels and Strasbourg. The EU holds over £4 billion worth of property. They've also recently spent £300 million on a space egg. It doesn't go into space, it's just an incredibly expensive building. So we may get around £500 million to £1 billion back from this. The EU also has a 42,000 bottle wine cellar because, of course it does. Next, the European Investment Bank. The UK is a shareholder in this bank. We have around £40 billion worth of capital invested. The European Investment Bank invests in various projects around the EU, including the UK. Personally, I would like us to take the money and leave the bank, but it's not really a priority. We could put this on hold and come back to it later. Although we shouldn't forget about this. We put up around 16% of the capital, and only 8% of the bank's assets are invested back in the UK. We could either start a new bank which solely invests in the UK, or we could leave the financing investments to the private sector, which would be my preference. Europol is the agency that deals with criminal intelligence across member states. Europol already cooperates with many non-EU states like Norway, Switzerland and the United States, which is definitely not in Europe. Again, it will be in everyone's interest if we reach a common sense agreement here. They are already talking about a US-style relationship. Fine. Also, we should look to pull out of the European arrest warrant, as it's been horrifically misused. Google Andrew Simiu or Alexander Adamescu if you haven't heard of these cases already. The purpose of the EAW was to speed up extraditions. Iceland and Norway have similar arrangements in place, but leave scope for their judiciary to overrule extraditions that are clearly wrong. The European Medicine Agency. Currently, the European Medicine Agency is based in London. I'd be happy for them to carry on there. I imagine the staff would want to stay, but it is possible the EU might choose to be vindictive and want it on EU soil. There are around 900 staff. The vast majority are temporary interns or on secondment. I think it'd be a real shame if the EU wanted to be a bully on this, but in the big scheme of things, this is pretty small. Leaving the EU gives us greater flexibility on pharmaceutical regulation, so the sector as a whole could do well after Brexit. As an interim measure, we could say that anything approved by the EMA could be sold in the UK until we identify areas where we'd want to deviate. And a few other gubbins. There are quite a few areas where we cooperate with EU schemes, and it will need to be decided whether these continue. There's none that I'm aware of that particularly concern me. If they're useful, then surely it's in everyone's interest to keep them. Otherwise, let's ditch them. The important thing is that no scheme should undermine British sovereignty. There will need to be some plans in place for transferring certain regulatory bodies. Again, this is operational stuff rather than strategic, and we're transferring back of our fishing waters as well. So I think the far more time-consuming work will be back in Westminster working out which EU laws and regulations we will need to keep and which ones we want to get rid of. So in summary, what we need to negotiate is pretty straightforward. The whole thing is being inflated to sound far more difficult than it really is. The reason being, it's in everyone's interest to make it sound difficult. The Remain crowd want to make it sound difficult so we don't go ahead with it. Hopefully that will die down now we've triggered Article 50, but I fear it won't entirely. And the government will want to make it sound difficult, so it sounds like they're making progress with a really difficult task. In reality, there's very little that could go wrong, and as I said, it would be good to have a free trade deal and a sensible position on passporting and other such arrangements, but there's nothing that would scupper the ship if we don't get this. If there's anything you think I haven't sufficiently addressed, do let me know and I can cover it in a future video.